Welcome back to another NFL divisional preview. Today we'll be looking at the AFC South, and I'm previewing every single division, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video. And if you haven't already, check out my season predictions video. First off, the Houston Texans. Last season they were 10-7 and won their division and beat the Browns in the wildcard round of the playoffs. CJ Stroud is coming off one of the best rookie quarterback seasons of all time. He had 4,100 yards, 23 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, and also had 3 rushing touchdowns as well. Then they added Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon to this roster, and last season Stephon Diggs had 107 receptions for 1,180 yards and 8 touchdowns, and Joe Mixon had 1,000 yards and 9 rushing touchdowns, and 376 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. And this is arguably the best receiving core in the entire NFL, with Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Noah Brown, and Dalton Schultz. Their over-under this season is 9.5, and I'm taking the over. Next, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were 9-8, but in free agency they did lose Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones. Ridley was their number 1 receiver last year with 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. But they did get Gabe Davis, who is a good deep threat. And with the Bills last season, he had 746 yards and 7 touchdowns. Their over-under this season is 8.5, and I'm taking the under. Next, the Indianapolis Colts. In 2023, they were 9-8. Their starting quarterback, Anthony Richardson, only played in 4 games and played very well. He had 577 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and had 136 yards rushing and 4 rushing touchdowns. And they added Joe Flacco as their backup quarterback, who was very good with the Browns last year and led them to the playoffs. They did lose Zach Moss over the offseason, but they still have Jonathan Taylor. In only 10 games last season, he had 740 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. And the last time he played a full season was 2021, and he had 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. So if he's healthy, he's going to have a big season. Their over-under this season is 8.5, and I'm going to take the under. Finally, the Tennessee Titans. They were 6-11. Will Levis is entering his 2nd season, and he looked pretty good last season. In 9 games, he had 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. But last year, in a game where they beat the Dolphins 28-27, Levis had 327 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, and I think he's going to have a breakout season since they added a bunch of great players around him. Even though they lost Derrick Henry, they got Tony Pollard, then they also added Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. Tony Pollard is coming off of back-to-back 1,000 rushing yard seasons, and in each of those seasons he had over 300 yards receiving. And Tyler Boyd is coming off a season where he had 667 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Bengals' number 3. And Calvin Ridley had 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. And don't forget they still have DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks, who was the first-round pick in 2022. Their over-under this season is 5.5, and I'm taking the over. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Goodbye.